Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So in today's video I'll be sharing with you my Valentine's Day romantic reading recommendations. So just last year was when I really started to get into the romance genre. Like I don't read a lot of it. I just basically marathon one trilogy, but that was it. But I was able to find some books on my shelves where I'm focusing on couples that I really enjoy, and I find this was actually pretty hard to do because I feel like I ship characters more from visual media, so movies or TV shows, as opposed to books. So this one was a little bit challenging, but I went through my shelves and found books where I really enjoyed the couples that were kind of in those ones. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So first up, I have Louisa and Will from Me Before You, and I read this book a long time ago. I remember, you can see the pages have turned orange now, but I was obsessed with this book when it came out, and I also do really like the film. But it basically follows this girl who is very much kind of down on her luck, and she ends up taking this position as a caregiver for this really wealthy man who, as I think he's paralyzed from the neck down, so he can't really do anything for himself. So she ends up, taking care of them, and obviously they end up falling in love. But I think this is a really opposites attract. I feel like he is very, Will, the character, is very much kind of depressed and angry, and Louisa helps brighten up a bit, and they both help each other out in different ways. So I really like this one. I really like the dynamic in here, but it's a one where they both help each other kind of realize their true potential in here. But yeah, I know there's a lot of there's been discussion on ableism and people with disabilities that we're upset with here, so just be aware of those things when you go into it. I'm sure you can find things that have been written about this book in particular, but other than that, I still really enjoy the kind of the relationship that is in here. So this is a book that I do have on my shelves, but it was all the way at the top and I did not want to get a step stool, but it is One Day in December by Josie Silver. This basically follows two people who have a meet cute, but they lock eyes and they realize this is the person that I want to be with, but they don't end up getting to talk to each other. And then flash forward a year, she's trying to find this man and she never does, and her roommate ends up getting a new boyfriend, and when she brings him home for the first time, she finds out that it's the one that she fell in love with at first sight, and it kind of goes off from there. This one kind of follows their relationship over the course of almost a decade, I want to say, so you kind of follow them through different parts of their lives, and I really like kind of the longevity of this. I feel like this movie would make a really good rom-com, but if you took When Harry Met Sally, You've Got Mail, that type of rom-com, a 90s, a good classic 90s rom-com, I feel like this one would be a really good one as well. But I just love the relationship and how, especially because you can see it evolve for so many times, and they fall kind of in and out of love with each other, and just the timing of everything I just thought was really well done. I really liked that part. And yeah, this was my first romance book. I read this for a book club pick and with my friend, and I actually really liked it, and it's the perfect kind of December read, as the title suggests. Next up, I have Act Your Ave E. Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the third book in the Brown Sisters trilogy, and this is actually my favorite of the entire trilogy. But it follows Eve, who comes from a very affluent family, and they end up kind of kicking her out of the house, and they say she needs to kind of have a job for a year before she can, actually, she needs to get her life together, basically. And so she ends up becoming a chef at this inn that is run by Jacob. I forgot the name, and it kind of goes from there. But this is kind of the friends to enemies kind of trope, and I think when it is well done, I do really enjoy that trope. But I feel like this one is the perfect embodiment of this. I felt like it was just a lot of fun, and especially because they're so different from each other, and they get on each other's nerves, but they still deep down really care about each other. And I love kind of those polar opposite kind of personalities meshing and just seeing how that goes about. I just think it makes it a lot of fun, and like I said, I really love this trilogy. It kind of did get me into the romance genre. But yeah, just to let you know, it's a little X-rated, which I wasn't expecting, like a lot more than what I was expecting, so just be aware of that. But I feel like these the books in this trilogy are really well written. They have good representation for not only color, you know, religion, just able, like, kind of autism spectrum, like all that thing. All those like things combined, I feel like the author does a really good job at kind of introducing diversity into her books without necessarily making it feel like it is like the diversity hire. But yeah, this is my favorite of the trilogy. I think Eve is such a funny character, and just the dynamic between these two was just a lot of fun to see them play out, and just, yeah, I love that trope. Next up, I have the Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson, and this is kind of like a trilogy that kind of is kind of focused on romance for like part of it. There's also like fantasy and all that take place, but there's also like romance is very much at the core of this fantasy, and this is probably one of my favorite YA fantasies of all time. So it follows Leah, who on her wedding day decides to run away with her best friend because she doesn't want to be forced into a marriage with a man that she doesn't know. So she goes and settles down in this seaside town with her friend, and then we get two chapter perspectives. One is from the assassin from a neighboring country, neighboring kingdom that has been sent to kill her, and then we also get the perspective of the prince. But when these characters are introduced to Leah, you don't necessarily know who is who until like the big reveal. But I definitely love the relationships in here. There's quite a few actually, and that's what I really like. I just think it's interesting because you do get to see it blossom, and then all the like trouble and everything, like the obstacles that they have to go through throughout the trilogy. I just really love these characters, and this is definitely like one, every time I see it on my shelf, I'm like, I want to reread this trilogy. That's how much I love it. But even though there is romance in here, there's really interesting political intrigue in here, and just the fantasy elements are also really interesting as well. So I feel like this covers it all. And lastly, this is the bookish couple that I think I'm most obsessed with, and it is Robin and Cormoran in the Cormoran Strike series by Robert Galbraith, or J.K. Rowling. I've gotten my friend at school, my lab mate at school, kind of hooked on this series as well, and I just really love their kind of just their relationship, not necessarily romantic, but just following the relationship over these 5 books has just been so interesting and fun, and you're just waiting for them to actually admit how they feel about each other to each other, and you're just waiting. But I feel like especially in this book is where the 3rd book, Career of Evil, is where you kind of see that addressed and take place. And so, like I said, I love this series. I think it is really well done. It is just the relationship and the dynamic between the two, and how, again, they kind of bicker, and they're very different personality wise, but they are still able to kind of work together and, you know, function well as a team. And I really like that because you, the reader, know what each character is thinking, but they're too afraid to admit it to each other, which I really like. This has been dragged out now for 5 books, so if the next book they don't get together, like, I'm gonna be really mad. But yeah, like I said, this is probably my favorite bookish couple of all time, just because it's just been a slow burn, and I'm just waiting for the flames to ignite, basically. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what some of your favorite kind of romantic or bookish relationships that you really enjoy. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.